Hey guys, how's everyone doing today? It's Chemo Casey here. I want to talk to you completely about anabolic steroids and what I have learned over the last year before I decided to start actually taking them myself just a couple of months back. I'm passionate about this stuff because it's made an extreme change in my life with mood, muscle building, the quality of sleep, my overall attitude in life. So I'm going to talk to you about injectables, orals, HGH, IGF-1, including how to inject them, what the dosages are that are recommended in Andrew Llewellyn's book, Anabolics 11, and then also what my personal experience has been. Even in a short time, I studied this for a long time before I started to inject myself. So we're going to go over this, a whole plate. And how this YouTube thing works is I spend the money, about $2,500 worth of steroids you're looking at there. Anything from testosterone here to nandrolone here, Anavar here. We're going to talk about each one of these benefits of injectables versus orals, which ones are DHT derivatives, etc., how to take them, the proper timing of the day to take them, and then including things like HGH and IGF-1. How does that fit into your exercise routine and workout? That being said, get yourself a notepad and a cup of coffee, grab a pen, sit back. This one's going to be a doozy, so don't look up because it's about to go down. Now, the granddaddy of all steroids and almost every steroidal protocol is based on is testosterone. The three most common types are just your straight up testosterone, comes in propionate, cypionate, and enanthate. It also comes in things like undecanate, but that has a really long half-life, like 28 days. You can also get what they call ester blends, like this is called Susta 350. This is a blend of anthenate 200, cypionate 100, and propionate 50. Total of 350 milligrams of testosterone per milliliter, which means one of these bad boys right here. Okay. I'm also going to talk about subcutaneous injections versus intramuscular injections, pros and cons of each as we go. But testosterone is your base element. It will make you big and strong fast. It makes you feel good, gives you great libido and sex drive. And the typical dosage that I have seen in all the literature that I've read, and I'll tell you what I'm taking too, is from 250 to up to 1,000 milligrams a week. Yes, intramuscular or subcutaneous. I'm currently taking 400 milligrams of testosterone in the ester blend per week. And so far, I've had excellent results, feel great. My last blood work was excellent, so we're going to stay on this protocol, and I'm going to tell you what we've added. Next up is Masteron. This stuff is from Pharma Labs, and I really like it. It's actually mentioned in Mr. Llewellyn's book as a reputable source. I believe it's made from India, but it's good quality, clean gear. And Masteron is very anti-estrogenic, and it does not convert to estrogen in the body, meaning you don't have any water retention, no bloating, you don't get gynecomastia or bitch tits or start lactating unless you might on other steroids if you overdo them. I take Masteron, I take 300 milligrams per week, and it really does give you full tight muscles with an amazing pump in the gym. It also gives you some added striations. It's just really, in my opinion, is a wonderful drug. I've had zero side effects, and I'm highly a fan of Masteron. Next up, kind of in the hierarchy of popular steroids, is going to be Primobolan. Prima. This is again from Pharma Labs. Primo 100 milligrams per milliliter of this thing, so one syringe full is going to be 100 milligrams. Primobolan. Very popular in the cutting phase, especially if you're already starting to be lean. It will give you a shredded look. It's mild in nature, but it does work in a very low calorie environment, so something to be cognizant of. So Primo is not going to give you great effects if you're in a bulking or if you're 15% more body fat or above. It's just not going to happen. It will not aromatize into estrogen, so you don't have to worry about the other things, gynecomastia, bitch tits, lactating, any of that stuff that we talked about previously with Masteron. It's also said to be, allegedly, one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite steroids that allowed him to give such a cut shred physique with a thin waist and win all those bodybuilding contests. It's also known as a very solid bridging compound, meaning between your crazy steroid cycle where you really want to put on a lot of size and a lot of weight is to then taper off of that. Just use a small dose of testosterone, a little bit of Primobolan, kind of a TRT dosage between your next cycle to keep everything in check, as long as you go with your blood work as well. And dosages I found range anywhere from 300 to 600 milligrams a week. I am not taking Primo, so I can't give you any personal experience with it, but I can tell you that it will be the next thing that I add into my regimen in the future when my coach tells me that's the route we're going. But I'm about 12% body fat right now. I'd like to get down to about 10, and then I think we'll introduce Primobolan. Yes, I know, this is what everybody wants to see. Tren. Hexy, the real deal. The Trenbolone sandwich, the most talked about steroid on the internet because it's got amazing gains in strength and quality of muscle mass. You know, testosterone has an anabolic ranking of 100. It's the baseline considered for all steroids. The anabolic ranking for Trenbolone is 500. It also sheds fat like crazy. It also kills your natural testosterone and shrinks your testicles almost immediately. They also call it the relationship killer, meaning that if you have real Tren and you think your girlfriend's being loyal, it's probably fake gear. It changes a person mentally, physically, and emotionally. But from what I've heard, I have not tried Tren yet. I'm debating on that in the future, but I've seen some massive gains from some folks who follow and that I have talked to. It's unbelievably amazing. The dosage, 300 to 600 milligrams per week. And guys, if you want to try it, be extremely careful. Just be careful. Gentlemen, next up is Equipose, also known as Bolderone. I have not tried Equipose yet, and so all I got was from a friend of mine to show you guys. This is an EQ and Tren blend. However, the underlying drug is called Bolderone. It was originally developed for horses, for horse racing and for horses to go faster, and it gave such spectacular results that, of course, bodybuilders had to give it a try. It does not aromatize and turn into estrogen. It's excellent for long-term muscle gains. However, it takes a long time to get up to tritate to the right amount in your bloodstream. So it is not something you're going to see immediate results on. A lot of people start to use it early and then up the doses to get close to a contest or their cutting phase. It does create great vascularity, kind of on the same par as Anavar does. Because it increases protein synthesis and red blood cell count, meaning that it basically, the nutrients are transported through your body and processed much more effectively than you could do naturally. Gentlemen, the dosage recommended, 300 to 600 milligrams per week. I'm not a doctor, but that's what the reference book says. All right, gentlemen, next up is Nandrolone. This is P100, which is a faster acting or shorter acting version lasting about a week versus 3 to 4 weeks of Decadurabolin. It does aromatize into estrogen. However, it's only at about 20% of what testosterone does. So it is not huge, but it will shut down your nuts, and you're going to have some sort of PCT therapy after or some stabilizer to make sure that you are fine after taking Decadurabolin. Now, there's a thing that's called Decadic, which is probably why I'm not going to try Nandrolone or Decadurabolin at 60 years old, because it gives you what's called Decadic, means you get your dick hard, you may be able to have intercourse for a minute, and then you lose your erection. That does not sound like a lot of fun for me or my hot redheaded girlfriend, so I don't think I'm going to do that. However, it does have some really great properties, and I've heard this from a couple other lifters in their 40s who had a lot of injuries. Due to its progestic nature, it has the ability to improve collagen synthesis, which helps your bone mineral contact, but it really helps your joints and your ligaments. And they seem to be much more pain-free than they were, and actually given them the ability to get back to the gym and rebuild those tissues, and then taper off the Durabolin, go on to something else once you've got your strength back and you're healthy. Also, I'm not going to talk about it right now, I'll talk about it later, but there are some peptides like BP-157 and TP-500 that also help with joint and injury recovery and protection. The dosage for Nandrolone or Decadurabolin is 400 to 600 milligrams per week, according to the literature. Okay, guys, I left this as the last standalone steroid because it's very controversial, but it is probably the next big thing that's going around the internet right now. It's called Trestilone, also known as Ment. It is 4 to 7 times stronger than testosterone. Massive gains, yes. Massive side effects, and estrogen must be managed with an aromatase inhibitor or some other thing to offset the estrogen that this stuff is going to produce for you. I have read some studies on Reddit where a guy has put on 8 pounds of rock hard muscle in 1 month. I don't think that's really good for the body. I'm a believer in anabolic steroids, but doing them safely and with a realistic expectation where I'm going. Like Nandrolone, but it has a 17 alpha methyl 19 nortestosterone base. And I want to read some of the side effects for you guys, because it is not for the weak of heart, okay? It will shut down your testosterone and sperm production. Gonadotrophin release is non-existent. It's a faster metabolic clearance rate than testosterone, and does not bind to the sex hormone binding globulin. It also aromatizes, preserving the benefits of estrogen and parts of the male physiology. It just will put it to a subphysiological level. It does have side effects, but here they come big time. Gynecomastia, hair loss, acne, prostate hypertrophy, that's a shrinking of the balls, deepening of the voice, clitoris enlargement for women, excess water retention, can have that bloated look without much definition to the muscle. So, you know, when this guy says he put on 8 pounds, could it be, 3 or 4 pounds of water? Who knows? It also can lead to excess fat buildup, and since it's a nandrolone derivative, it does have libido suppression. So to me, the gains are not going to be worth the price of this drug. My 2 cents. However, the dosage is 10 to 40 milligrams per day to be used in 2 doses, one in the morning and one at night, and never for more than 4 weeks. Well, guys, I guess technically this is my final standalone, and it's called 1-testosterone cypionate. And no, it is not testosterone. When I did a search for the most popular things people search for on the internet and other threads, like some of the forums like Reddit and such like that, where there's some underground conversation going on, what are people searching for, what are they asking for, what do they want to know about? And this drug came up, and so I went ahead and I got it, and it's a very unique drug. It doesn't seem to actually do anything on its own. It's a converted form of bolderone, and it is to bolderone as dihydrotestosterone is to testosterone. So you get it in the body, it converts, and that's what it is from there on. However, they claim, and there are quite a few people on the threads, I couldn't find any hard scientific data, no journal had anything published on this. This was strictly bro science I found, but it claims to enhance the effectiveness and the absorption rate and the way that bolderone mostly and testosterone are absorbed and used by the body. So that said, I don't have a dosage. They claimed 50 to 200 milligrams per week, but since I couldn't find out any data, I'm just giving you a report on the bro science that this drug exists, and if it's something you want to consider down the road, do your own fucking research, because I couldn't find much. When you find a good UGL out there, underground lab, or quality supplier, you will also find that there are a lot of mixed compounds available, meaning, like this one is called MassGen. It's trenbolone, it's bolderone, and testosterone, and nandrolone mixed together. This one's called MassGen 500. Okay? You can get ones like trenbolone acetate and testosterone propionate. Probably the fastest acting thing that you can get for those 2 drug compounds right there. This one my buddy gave me is trenbolone and acetate, bolderone, and another form of trenbolone looks like, and testosterone, sorry. Whoa, that one's called the 400. So these are from Evo Labs, and my coach had informed me though, although this sounds good, right, because the benefits are the cost. It's much more cost effective to do this than buying 3 or 4 or 5 vials, and a lot fewer injections. You go through a lot less needles, you go through less alcohol prep pads, etc. The cons are the gear quality, and that is because he explained to me that when they blend drugs and they blend esters, most of them are done at a different temperature. So they have to come to sort of like a happy medium, so that maybe the bolderone is not quite as good quality as the testosterone up there, because they haven't met all the standards of where they're supposed to be. That being said, haven't tried those, but I do think it might be an option for somebody just getting into the gear game and wants to take very light, small dosages. It's a way to save money and fewer injections, because we're going to talk about injections next. Human growth hormone. You certainly hear a lot about it on the internet. I get what's called gray tops, 12,000 milligrams of IUs in this, okay? It comes like this in a dry format. You then have to take reconstitution solution, like this one. I get all this stuff, the needles and stuff I'll show you. You get them on Amazon, it's a pretty good deal. Send them straight to your house. You take that, you reconstitute it, and then it looks like this. Once you do that, you need to keep it cold. You can see it's got some, what do you call that? I don't know, stuff on it that shows that it's cold. HGH, if taken at night, is for building muscle and helping sleep and recovery. If taken in the morning, it tends to do a better job of burning off fat. I take it at night and I sleep like a motherfucking baby. So that being said, it has helped with joint pain. I had a couple of blown out shoulders about 6 months before I kind of started this journey with you guys, and it had certainly has helped in that road to recovery. Also feeling a little bit better. I think my skin overall looks a little bit better. So that being said, big fan of the growth hormone. 4 to 8 IUs per day. I take mine at night, and I'm taking 6 IUs per day every night before bed with my chocolate milk. IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. Been on the internet quite a bit lately as, you know, kind of the hot new thing, but it's been around for a long time. It's basically a central growth hormone that contains promoting effects of growth hormone. So this is kind of like a precursor and is stimulating, and it is optimized when it is combined with growth hormone later on. Now, the way that I was taught to take this is 2 milligrams in each arm, your deltoids here, 30 minutes before working out. Evidently, that stimulates your insulin response, and if you are having a carbohydrate drink while you're working out, you're supposed to get better absorption for muscle building and protein synthesis. Do I know if it's working? I'm not sure, but I'm trying it, and I feel pretty good. So that being said, it's not very expensive, pretty easy to get, and so far that's where I'm at, and I'm sticking with it. Again, guys, I tried to cover the most common things that people are talking about on the internet, and SARMs is a big one, right? Selective androgen modular receptors. And this thing here, it's TB500 and BP-157 is a combination. It is absolutely amazing for injury recovery. I had mentioned earlier that I had blown out both shoulders about 6 months ago, and I didn't discover this stuff until 4 months into my physical therapy program. Once I got on this stuff, within 6 weeks, it was almost completely healed. Now, my strength had to come back and mobility and flexibility, but the injury part and the pain part was unbelievably, it was absolutely unreal. It was completely like cheating, like I felt like Wolverine. And they actually call this the Wolverine stack. So that being said, incredible results that I've had personally with this stuff. I keep this on hand no matter what. If I need it or not, I want to have it in case I do have an injury or something. I was taking 4 milligrams a day at the site of the injection, so I was shooting myself directly into the shoulders, and man, did it really help, guys. Okay, guys, so you've decided that you want to go on a steroid protocol. Sterilization and safety first. Alcohol swab, gotta have them. Whole packs of those. Always wipe off the top of the bottle as well. Always have fresh new needle. This is a 25 gauge needle with a 5/8 inch, with a 5/8 inch length. Now, previously, when I first started, I was doing intermuscular injections with a 1.5 inch needle, and I'm gonna tell you, it hurts like a bitch, okay? And I'm not doing it. I got these big lumps of shit. It was not fun at all. So basically, all you're gonna do is put this in here. I hope YouTube allows me to show you guys this, but I don't know. I'm new to YouTube, I'm new to this whole thing, okay? So this is Susta 350 milligrams per 1 full milliliter. I don't want that much. I only want half that, 175 milligrams. So, which means I'm going to go halfway on here. And you'll notice that the oil is very, very thick, right? It takes a while, so just be patient and let it all come in there. You also want to make sure that when you get it in here, you get the air out of the system so you don't inject yourself with any of that. Now, another pro tip I'm going to give you. When you come back up here, and I'm going to go up to 0.5, right? I'm at about 0.6. I shove it hard to get the air out, and also to make sure that if there's any little rubber that gets in the needle, you don't want to stick that into your system, okay? So that is how we're going to do this. Now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to clean off half of my ass cheek, I'm going to stab myself, but I'm not going to do it on the camera because I don't know if they're going to allow me to do that, and I only want this to be about education and safety. That being said, back in a minute to talk about next steps. Okay, so I went ahead and injected my 175 milligrams of testosterone mix, and anything that has testosterone propionate in it stings a little bit. It doesn't hurt like a big intramuscular used to, but it does sting a little bit. So if you get some kind of a burning sensation, it's okay. And whenever after you do the injection site, always rub it out so you don't get any scar tissue or any lumpy buildups there. All right, moving on now. We're going to go with the SARMs or the HGH. And I'm going with IGF-1 because I'm going to head off to the gym after I finish this up for today. This has been quite a production, and I'm glad you guys have stuck around. If you stuck around this long, slap me a like. Just smash that like button, hit subscribe, because I plan on doing some fun stuff in the future. Not only more of these, but I went out and got some really great books on physical fitness and steroids and muscle growth and stuff. And I'm going to summarize those for you guys. Tell you what's working, what I think is a good idea, how you can implement these different things, and kind of take the best ideas from the best people and see if we can put together a killer program for us old folks. So that being said, insulin syringes. This is 1/2 inch and it's a 32 gauge. It is so tiny you can barely feel this thing, and when that means you can barely feel it, as I mentioned, you want to sterilize the cap and everything, right? It is difficult. Sometimes these needles bend, and if you look really closely, you have to see that there's a slot cut in here. So if you go in the center, you have to make sure that the needle gets into the slot. Otherwise, you can't suck any of the juices out. So that being said, it takes a little bit of time to bring this together here. So as I mentioned, I'm going 20 in each arm prior to going to the gym. Again, tapping the air out and making sure that everything is completely correct, sterile, and safe for that environment. So then simply do what I told you guys to do the arms, because that's where I'm going to inject it. I don't know if YouTube allows me to do that, so I'm not going to take any chances on it, because I really just want this for educational purposes, so you guys know what to do if you choose to go down this protocol routine that I've had such great success with. I'm not recommending it, I'm just giving you my own results. That being said, make sure you sterilize everything. You can do your shoulders, or they say you can take your stomach and like curl up the skin and inject it underneath the skin. I'm not a fan of that, but whatever you do, any of your injections, go slowly. Don't just jam it in there and be done like they do with flu shots. Go slow, let it absorb, go slow, let it absorb, go slow, let it absorb, pull it out, rub it out, and then wipe it off again with an alcohol pad. Never had an infection, never had a problem, so you'll thank me later, because that could really suck if you got a bad infection. Now let's talk about oral steroids for a minute, okay? My absolutely stunningly favorite is something called Anavar. Now, Anavar can also look like this, or it can look like this, which are little white round pills. And these are called pressed pills, meaning that they put all the ingredients together. I don't know if you can see that shit. All the ingredients together, mix it up in a batch, and then they spread it out, and then they press them. Consistency is usually not as good in this, number one. Number two, oxandrolone, which is the chemical name for Anavar, is the number one faked oral steroid there is. So, this batch here, I know is real, because there's a place called roidtest.com, and for $29 you can buy these test kits to test if your oxandrolone, or Anavar is real. This I know tested real. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you guys is because I got this one a little bit ago, and when I went to the gym last night, typically I take 20 milligrams sublingually, meaning I chew it up, leave it under my tongue until it completely dissolves. It gives great strength gains. It gives great, your vascularity look is just so much better on this stuff. And I didn't feel that with this batch, to be honest with you. So I'm going to have to get the test kit out and find out. But regardless, when you have the real thing, it is absolutely stunning. It is by far my favorite combination, which I've told you guys what I'm taking. The testosterone with the Masteron and the Anavar, it's spectacular. I mean, my strength gains, muscle gains, fat loss, energy, stamina, sleep, everything has just been wonderful. I don't have any complaints. My blood work was good last time. I'll be doing it again in another week or so. I'll share that with you guys. But for the most part, I can't say anything bad about Anavar. They call it the dad bod combination, which is what I had before, and so I think that's a legitimate name for that stack, the old dad bod stack, or maybe how to get rid of the dad bod stack. Anyways, that said. Well, Turinabol, or T-ball as it's known, invented in Germany back in the early 70s, when the Germans won all those medals in swimming and weightlifting, and later on, 20 years later, come to find out that they invented this kind of chemistry of Turinabol. Excellent for strength gains, not so much for muscle mass, but for strength sports. Absolutely puts on some strength for you. and then obviously helps you lift more, and with your other stack of anabolic compounds gets you to develop more muscle as you go down the road and keep lifting. Now it is a C17 oral. That means it can put some stress on the liver. Most of the things that I talk about, I did all the research. I didn't want anything that was going to be hard on my liver because of my age. I don't smoke or drink or anything anymore, but just because of my age, even though my diet and stuff is perfect, I was worried about liver hepatotoxicity. So that is the reason that most of every drug, injectable or orals that I talk about, are low hepatotoxicity. The dosage for these is recommended at 20 to 40 milligrams per day on workout days, and not to exceed a 4 to 6 week cycle, gentlemen. Hey gentlemen, we're getting down to the end of it, so thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I hope this has been really informative. One of the ones coming up towards the end here, there's a few more that I'll talk about, and there's a couple of random things as well that I wanted to touch on during this experiment and experience that I've had. Halo testing. They call it the fighting steroid. This is the steroid that a lot of the MMA fighters got busted with because it really does activate your fast twitch muscle fibers, meaning you can go quicker. I would take this before boxing. I took boxing lessons a couple times a week as one of my cardios and a hobby. And you can absolutely notice a difference in your speed and reaction time. It's absolutely incredible. Also gives you hard muscles and increased vascularity. However, it doesn't give you gyno or any estrogen related things, but it will eat your liver alive. Okay, so if you do decide to try halo testing for its benefits, because it has a lot of them, let's be 100% honest, you got to take some trimethylglycine, which is TMZ, which is one of the #1 supplements to help repair your liver. You guys know I'm big fear of the liver and my liver going out, even though the liver is one of the few organs in the body that actually repair itself. I don't know, just always kind of had a fear about it, and I don't want to mess it up, so maybe because I drank a lot in younger days, I don't know. Regardless, that's my scoop on halo testing, and do with it what you will. Couple more guys, hang in there. Hey guys, I'm going to wrap it up with this one, okay? It's called Arimidex, and it's an anti-estrogen tablet, okay? I suggest you have this on hand before you start a cycle of any kind. One thing I failed to mention early on is that when you start using injectable testosterones that are in ester bases or in oils, they take a while to build up in your system. So anywhere, they don't maximize efficiency until about week 4 to 5. So in the interim, you can use some of the orals that we talked about to get a jump start on your progress. But if at some point in there you have an adverse reaction to the dosage of testosterone, because almost every protocol starts with a base of testosterone, most TRT clinics included will start at 180 to 250 milligrams per week. And let's say you are sensitive to things like gynecomastia and you're starting to grow boobs and maybe lactate, you have a Arimidex on hand, you can immediately take it and shut that down, that production of estrogen down, until your body adapts to your new amount of testosterone that you've got. Typically the dosage is 1 milligram every other day until symptoms subside, but they can be all over the map. But I'm telling you, I haven't had this issue yet, but I did meet a guy at the gym who had this, and he was able to nip it in the bud. Still has a little tiny bit of gynecomastia, but it was starting to look like bitch tits, and it was sad. That being said, last slide, I'm going to wrap it up in just a second, so hang in for that. Well, everybody, thanks for hanging in there and watching my video. I hope you got some useful information out of it. I really enjoy all of you guys, and thank you for everything. I can ask a big favor. If you like the video, I'd humbly ask you to give it a like. Please leave a comment. What do you think? But in the steroid summary here, I wanted to reiterate what I'm actually taking versus everything that I talked about. Taking 400 milligrams of testosterone a week, 300 milligrams of Masteron once a week. On workout days, I take 20 milligrams of Anavar sublingually under the tongue, and I take 20 IUs in each shoulder. That's just a total of 40 IUs of IGF-1 before each workout, and I take 6 IUs of human growth hormone before bed. That has been my protocol. I'm extremely happy with it. Blood work proves it's working nicely, so I'm going to continue on this until I hit a plateau, which I don't think is going to be for a little while. That being said, guys, appreciate everything. Like, subscribe, comment, and go out and make it a great fucking day.